The tragedy in Las Vegas may have many parents wondering, how do you talk with your kids about this, about what happened, especially children also who are older who might attend concerts? Joining me now is Dr. Martha Womack with St. Vincent's. Good morning. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. My 10-year-old came home from school yesterday and says her teacher's parents were in Las Vegas staying at that hotel, and that her teacher, when she could, was texting back and forth with her folks to make sure that she was okay. So while this wasn't necessarily something that came up at school, it did in that frame. So when my daughter came home, she said, I heard what happened, and this is terrible, and you're, as a parent, you're at that juncture now. How much do I explain to my child about what happened? How do you wrestle with that as a parent? What's the best thing for us to do with elementary age students? Let's start there.
I think the first thing is, what is the child really asking you? Not do you want to educate the child about something, but what is the kid saying? What is the kid feeling? What is the kid wondering about? And then, as much matter-of-factly as you can, and with a 10-year-old, is that, this was a horrible event. We don't know why it happened. Let's talk about what you saw, what you heard, and then you begin to find out, what is it that that child needs?
Is it better then to just answer their questions so as not to give too much information?
Well, again, you don't know what information the child wants. Kids are individuals, and what one child wants may not be what another child wants or needs. With particularly young children, you don't want to overwhelm them with facts, but school-age kids, they will let you know, what did this mean? What is that about? And then when you say, well, this is what we know. And if we don't know, we say, we don't know that yet. Try to avoid that speculation.
It's interesting, though, because as they get older into, let's say, middle and high school, and they may want to go to concerts, this moves from, why did this happen, to, do I and should I be fearful whenever I go into a situation where there are big crowds? And you don't want your children to be afraid, but you also want them to be safe. And that's a fine line for a parent, because I'm a hoverer and I just assume not let them go, but I know I can't do that as a parent.
Well, I think, too, addressing that most concerts don't end in tragedy. This one did. You can talk about things that are happening to help provide safety in public spaces more. I heard something yesterday about how the amphitheater in St. Augustine was preparing a bit more. You can talk about, those are the things that we can do rather than focusing on the things we can't control. What is it that we can do? If you were in a place and you felt unsafe, what would you do? How would you be able to stick with your friends? Those would be some things that would help you as a parent and help a child know, here's what to do. And again, knowing that none of us can predict everything, and not over-focusing on scary things happen in the world. It is true, scary things happen in the world. We can acknowledge that, and we can acknowledge most stuff is not scary. What happened at school today that wasn't scary for you? What was a time you went to a concert and it was fun? Those would be some things to talk about, as well as talking about how do we prepare for safety.
Yeah, and I think that the hardest part here is when your child looks to you and says, but I don't understand why somebody would do that. And my husband and I, because we were both in the room when my daughter asked, it's just, there are just bad, evil people in this world, and you wish you could explain it, and it might not have been the best thing for us to say to her, but you don't have answers yourself, and you just have to admit that you don't.
And I think that's the starting point. We don't know why this person did this. We don't know. This was a terrible thing. It was a bad thing. And sometimes we just don't know why.
And that's okay for parents to admit that.
Absolutely.
Doctor, thank you so much for being here. I know it's important for our viewers to appreciate it.